Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk, and in today's episode we'll be breaking down and reviewing Arrow Season 7 Episode 8, otherwise entitled Unmasked and otherwise known as the mid-season finale, so let's discuss. I think we can all agree that Arrow has been absolutely stellar this season under the new direction of Beth Schwartz, or Best Schwartz as we like to call her, as the new showrunner and a new writer's room. Arrow has really proved itself that this is a show that still needs to be watched and still needs to be seen by viewers. And I think that last episode really was one of Arrow's greatest. And, you know, I think episode 8, this being the mid-season finale, this was a really great way to end it off for the mid-season point. So straight away, straight off the bat, you have the identity of the new Green Arrow officially revealed as the episode opens up with this mysterious woman of Asian heritage doing a very similar workout routine to what we saw Oliver doing back in Season 1 of Arrow. And we kind of knew that this is where this is going, and then she sees Oliver on the TV, and she suits up in the Green Arrow costume. So this is who the new Green Arrow is. Now, obviously, I've made a couple of videos about this in the past, and I have steered away from this when I'm talking about it in my reviews, just because I didn't want to spoil it for people who didn't know. But this was leaked a while back, and I have made a couple of videos on it. And the identity of this woman is actually Emiko Queen. She is the half-sister of Oliver Queen in the comics, the daughter of Robert Queen and Shadow. Now, obviously, her origin is going to be slightly changed in this episode. We never actually get her name revealed in this episode, to be fair. Like, we never actually hear Emiko Queen. But, you know, just with any common sense, if you know the character, if you know the comics, if you know this kind of setup, you know this character is Emiko Queen. And it was really great to finally have this revealed. And I have to say, I didn't expect it in the opening scene. I did not expect that at all. But, you know, again, it didn't really come off as a surprise to me because I knew it, but it was nice to see. So Oliver goes to attend this ball where he's basically posing as Oliver Queen in a way to actually oppose the government and oppose the justice system as a way to, you know, basically advocate for prisoner rights. And we do get a brief scene before this where we get to see how Oliver's time in prison has really affected him, like him with Felicity. You know, he's in the shower and, you know, he gets a bit startled when Felicity walks up on him. So he is in here in this ball, or, you know, this gala type thing, to try and advocate for prisoner rights. And this is all going well, this seems to be all going swimmingly, until the apparent new Green Arrow shows up and tries to kill a certain target. However, Renee does bring up a good point that all this new Green Arrow has done has been good for this city. Why would they all of a sudden turn and try and murder people? Every person that they have attacked have been, you know, in response to them being a horrible to the Glades, essentially. Also, I have to say, there's a weird little moment where Dinah suggests that Renee should run for mayor. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I feel like that is a storyline that could definitely go down for Renee this season, given how they've placed his character within the season. But anyway, that might be a video for another day. But yes, so the new Green Arrow comes out and attacks all these people, but you know, Renee is like, this is not the Green Arrow. I know who this guy is. Well, technically I know who this person is. You know, I know who they are. They wouldn't do this. And this leads into the giant kind of, you know, exploration of this, where they try and figure out and try and meet with the new Green Arrow. So Renee is able to make contact with the new Green Arrow, and him, Oliver, and Dinah do go out to go and meet the new Green Arrow, and he shows up, and yeah, basically they're like, okay, I told you to come alone, but, you know, you've kind of betrayed my trust there, and they all, you know, they run off, and Oliver goes after them, and this was a great chase. This was a really fun chase scene. Seeing Oliver doing some parkour again, going after the new Green Arrow, was really fun, and it's really interesting as well, because it's very abundantly clear that this new Green Arrow is of equal training to Oliver. Like, she is an equal to Oliver, so this does lead the question of, you know, where was she trained? Who trained her? You have to imagine the League of Assassins are involved somewhere. There is a big rumor that Malcolm Merlyn is involved, given the fact that he's coming back later this season. So there's a lot of people thinking that maybe, you know, this is somebody who is of League of Assassin kind of descent, and that's why this is happening. So that'd be really fun. That would be really interesting if that happens. And I would definitely like to see that. But again, just seeing this chase scene, it was a really good action sequence and a really good fun chase scene that we haven't really had in Arrow for a while, and it was good for Oliver to see him stretch his legs. Now, Oliver realizes with Renee that the connections between all of these previous murders that have been happening over the past week or so have all been connected to a certain group in university, and this is then leading Oliver to go and meet with his old friend Max Fuller, who, if you remember Max Fuller, he was in Season 1, Episode 3. He ordered a bunch of bodyguards to attack Oliver and Tommy, and Laurel actually ended up coming to their rescue. This is way back in early day Season 1, and he was a nightclub owner, so Oliver goes to see him and basically tries to dig up some, information on these guys, what was the connection, what's going on, and he realizes that Max Fuller is actually involved in this, and it's actually hiring a mysterious assassin to actually take out these guys due to some kind of shady business dealings that he was being cut out of. And because he got salty, he decided, right, I'm going to kill these two with this hired assassin. And this hired assassin does actually come out of nowhere in Oliver's home and attack him. So this guy who attacks Oliver was the same guy who attacked the Gala earlier in the episode, and because Oliver got a bit too close to Fuller, because he knew a bit too much, he kind of started to catch on what was going on. The hit was ordered out on him as well. And this kind of assassin who's brought in, he's called the Mirror, I believe he was called. I don't know if that's anybody from the comics, I'm not too sure. But he kind of comes out and he's, a master archer, and he's kind of like really good at pretending to be somebody else. Kind of like the Human Target in a way, but in a lot more of a, behind the scenes kind of way, not necessarily up front. So he kind of attacks Oliver in his home, and he gets to take him out. He gets arrested in the end, and yeah, he's basically just like a copycat kind of character who's able to mimic the actions of other people. So basically he could mimic the Green Arrow if he wanted to. He essentially did in this episode. But that all comes to a close, and Max Fuller is also arrested too. This then leads to an investigation into Max Fuller's club, and they realise that they're going to have to go after Max personally, and this is before he was arrested. And we get to see Oliver finally suit up again as the Green Arrow without the hood nor the mask, and he just goes out there with his, completely exposed, and goes out there. We get a really awesome hallway fight, we get some really cool action here, and it's a very interesting take to see Oliver out there as a vigilante, as the Green Arrow, without the hood and the mask, because the hood and the mask is such an iconic part of the Green Arrow at this point, and even just a part of the Arrow TV show at this point. So to see him go without it is definitely really interesting, and definitely something different for like us fans to see. But I think this is something I could definitely get used to, and this is definitely something I could enjoy, as I think it's just, something fresh and something a bit different, and I'm happy about that. And again, these action sequences were absolutely fantastic. I loved all of it. The confrontation with Max Fuller was awesome, especially because obviously this was Max Fuller. He obviously knows Oliver's the Green Arrow, and then he stood face to face with him. It was a really nice scene. So when they get back, they do see that, Maya Pollard, she actually comes out to Dinah and says, look, I can't believe this stunt you've just pulled with Oliver going out there. And this is when we get the reveal that Dinah is actually working with Oliver, and Oliver is now working as a functioning member of the SCPD. Now, I didn't expect this. I was expecting them to go the Argus route with Oliver and not actually the SCPD. I thought that was really interesting. But obviously where this is going to go, we're going to have to wait and see. But I personally feel like putting Oliver in the position where he's basically working for the SCPD is going to be restrictive. I can see this is going to cause some conflict. Oliver is going to want to go further than he's going to be allowed to, like out of his jurisdiction. So we're going to have to wait and see how this goes. I assume this is not going to end well, but for now, and I'm sure for this kind of like honeymoon period, if you will, it'll be just fine. And I think it's quite an interesting development to put Oliver back in this situation where he is working as a vigilante, but he's actually working under the orders of the SCPD. I think that works really well, and it's definitely an interesting way to take this character. And I never thought, 7 years ago when this show started, we would end up in this position that we're in now. There was like a mini sort of side story going on in this episode, which was surrounding Diggle and Lila further investigating the Dante poster, and this kind of comes into tying back into the Longbow Hunters, which is interesting because we discussed about how potentially episode 6 was the last time that we saw the Longbow Hunters this season, but it seems like that may not be the case. It seems like they could be coming back, given the fact that they are hinted at through this Dante thing, although it could just be, something that gives the audience to relate it to. I don't know. But this Dante thing, the way that Lila was talking about it in this episode definitely makes me think that the Ninth Circle are definitely coming into the season, who is of course a big criminal organization in the DC universe, especially heavily linked to Green Arrow. I feel like the Ninth Circle, or at least they're going to be heavily set up in this season to maybe be the main antagonist for season 8 of this show. Who knows, but I feel like the Ninth Circle is definitely being hinted at in this particular scene with Lila and Diggle. And we did get flash forwards in this episode too, and the flash forwards in this were probably actually surprisingly the least interesting part of the episode, which is very interesting. But it basically just shows William, Dinah, and Zoe going to this kind of underground fight club where we get to meet Catherine McNamara's character of Maya, and she is like this underground street fighter. She goes by the name of Blackstar. This is the girl that Felicity contacted before she was murdered. So we don't really get much on her, we don't really know much about her, but what we do know is she's actually been keeping the plans that Felicity was using in order to blow up Star City, meaning that she could be using the plans herself to carry on what Felicity started. So this character, we don't know exactly what her motives are yet, what she's going to be doing, what her role is within this story, but she definitely seems to have a bit more of an evil twist to her than maybe what we all expected. Now, this episode ends with kind of the mic drop moment where we get to see that Asian sort of female who we saw at the beginning of the episode crouched down in front of a grave, talking to the grave, and I knew where this was going. I knew exactly where this was going, especially when I saw, the opening scene. I knew exactly where this was going. We see that she is talking to the grave. She calls the grave Dad, and she says, "Oliver is more like you than I thought." And it goes on to the grave, and whose grave is it? It's Robert Queen. So this is Robert Queen's daughter, aka Emiko Queen, like I mentioned earlier. And what's really interesting as well is that in the background you get to see the Queen Mansion, and it's absolutely burnt to a crisp. Now, remind me in the comments if I'm just missing something, but I don't remember this ever happening in the show. I don't ever remember the Queen Mansion getting destroyed or anything. Like, because Oliver kind of lost it in season 2 after he lost his family fortune, so I don't remember him ever going back to that. I might be completely mind blanking here, but I never remember the Queen Mansion ever getting destroyed. But make sure you let me know that in the comments. But it was really nice to go back to this set though and be back in this area, because we haven't been here since, like I say, season 2 really. So it's really nice to be back here, and obviously getting the confirmation that this is Robert Queen's daughter. And again, we don't get the specific name, we don't actually hear Emiko Queen, but like I say, that's what this is going to be. Now, who is the mother? Well, I think the most likely option is that it's Isabel Rochev, if you remember her from Season 2. You do find out that she was like an apprentice at Queen Consolidated, who Robert took quite a shine to, and we found out that there were maybe some things going on there. So I feel like, personally, this is going to be the daughter of Robert and Isabel, and that would be really interesting. And given the fact that Isabel Rochev was so heavily tied to Slade, I wonder if we'll see anything to do with Slade. I don't know, but I feel like this is a really awesome way to end the episode, and it gets me really excited as to what they're going to do with this character. This is a character I didn't even think they'd ever bring onto this show, but the fact that they're doing it is really exciting, and where they can take this story is even more so. Overall, though, I really liked this episode. I thought this was a great mid-season finale for Arrow. Obviously, it was going to be impossible to top last week's episode because it was so good. It was, like I say, it's one of the best that Arrow's ever done. But this was still a great episode in its own right. I really enjoyed it. The future stuff, while not as entertaining as it typically would be, like we also found out what the Mark of 4 was. It's literally just like a little insignia that basically shows you're a part of Oliver's team, essentially. That's basically what it is. But we do get the information, or the introduction to Catherine McNamara's character of Maya. Obviously, we got the Green Arrow reveal. We got to see Oliver kicking ass as the Green Arrow without his mask on. We got some really cool stuff, and I think that, this season has been so strong, so consistently strong. Like, there hasn't been a dud episode in this season yet, and I think that's incredible given the fact that we're at the mid-season point. So, this is incredible. I'm so excited to where Arrow's going to go for the rest of the season. I'm totally on board. I've never loved Arrow this much since season 5. Like, this has just been a roller coaster, and I just can't wait to see where it goes next. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.